Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill, Michigan. Absolutely rolling on the recruiting trail. Now, late Friday night, the Malakai Lee commitment got a lot of the attention from Michigan fans, and look, rightfully so. Like, Malakai Lee is what you want your tackles to look like, not only at the Big Ten level, but at the NFL level as well. Well, we also got another commitment that probably flew under the radar for a lot of Michigan fans. I think he committed like almost exactly at the same time that Malakai Lee committed. So it was really not ideal for Markel Dabney. Look, if you wanted the Michigan fans talking about Markel Dabney, probably not the best time to commit. Though this kid's fascinating. When you look at the recruiting rankings, this conversation, got to throw those rankings out because it's very clear that this Michigan staff values Markel Dabney a whole heck of a lot higher than what the recruiting services are telling us. And I kind of understand why the recruiting services are a little bit lower on Markel Dabney. It's a little bit of a murky projection, right? He plays wide receiver and safety at the high school ranks. He's going to spin down to play linebacker for Michigan over the next couple of years. This is what I'll say is one, Michigan really does like this kid. But number two, and I think most importantly, this is the exact kind of athlete that Michigan is looking for in that off-ball linebacker room. You've seen a very clear shift to Michigan leaning into premier athletes. Like, even if they're a little bit underdeveloped, Markel Dabney, 6'1", 210, it's not necessarily the biggest linebacker in the 2026 cycle. This kid can run, chase, and tackle and is extremely, extremely good in coverage. These are the kind of guys, go back to Chase Taylor or go back to a guy like Cole Sullivan and Adewusu Boateng. We said the same thing for all of these guys. Michigan saying, give me the guys that can operate in space. We'll put the weight on and the physicality on them to hold up in the box. It's what you're saying with Markel Dabney. And that's as much as Michigan has taken it up a notch on the recruiting trail. And as a Michigan fan, like, I'm just having the time of my life in the summer. I still appreciate that they're sticking to the process too and saying, hey, we're not just going to chase stars blindly. We're going to go get guys that fit what we want to do. And I think Markel Dabney is certainly that kind of guy. Really excited to get into Markel Dabney, talk about him as a player, and then they'll talk about, hey, where's Michigan going? We still know we have a lot of commitments that are kind of coming in over the next couple of days. Before we get into it, as always, the Michigan fans, appreciate you guys. I said this last night, I'll say it again. As a Michigan fan, look, this is about as fun as we've had, having off-season recruiting and talking about it, because it just feels a little bit different. To all the Michigan fans who've been rocking with the boys, appreciate you guys. Buckle in. Going to be a lot more commitments over the next couple of days. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I will give you the T-box here. Markel Dabney coming to Michigan. How are we feeling about it?
And for the linebacker position, I think this type of player makes sense. Like, again, I look at like a wide receiver spot, let's say. That's probably a position where guys are going to need to play early, probably in their freshman or sophomore years.
Sure.
I look at kind of where Michigan's linebacker pipeline is with
Yeah.
guys like Bowles, Sullivan, Usu Boateng. I think Dabney will have the runway that he needs to be kind of effective, because I think if they throw him out there as a true freshman or even a sophomore, you're probably not going to get great production, just because what you said, like, he hasn't even really played linebacker at the high school level. And you really don't know what you're going to get from him in terms of his in-the-box play. Like, can he be physical? Can he stack and shed blocks? All those things that you kind of need to do as a backer. But there is one skill set that really feels kind of elite with Markel Dabney, and that's his ability to play in coverage, and especially in zone, because he played a lot of like that deep safety kind of look, has good eyes, has good feel for where he should be in those positions. And that's the thing, when you look at what Wing Martindale's been doing in terms of how he plays, your linebackers need to have great eyes, and they need to really understand how to attack the ball in the air.
And they have to be versatile. They have to line up in different spots. And that is Markel Dabney. This is a guy that has experience playing just about every position, whether he's coming off the edge, spinning down as an off-ball linebacker, playing that like single high safety look. This dude's done it all and has experience doing it all at the high school ranks. Though there was very limited film of Markel Dabney working in the box as essentially an off-ball linebacker. This is one of the pieces of it. If you're a Michigan fan, this has to fire you up. This is textbook in terms of what you want your linebackers looking like in zone coverage. the feel for the position, but also being able to read the quarterback's eyes and then just go taking away the football. You don't see many linebackers operate like that. And Dill, that's the skill set that I think really made Michigan push their chips in for a guy like Markel Dabney. I want to highlight something you said, and I know it's a little repetitive, but I think it's important. The fact that this kid won't have, and I think there's a lot of people saying, what do you mean he's not going to have to play early? Jayshon Barham, Ernest Hosman, they're going to the NFL after this year. Well, Michigan has stockpiled a lot of young, talented linebackers. I think that's the reason they went out and got a guy like Troy Bowles. It was not to play a ton in the 2025 year, but it's what he can do in 2026. You don't have to throw Markel Dabney out on the football field before he's ready. And I think that's going to matter with this kid because, look, I think he can be a really good linebacker. But it certainly, like you said, is going to take some time. One other thing I'll add before we get into what's next. Look at the landscape of the Big Ten. And you've seen Michigan do this. It is, if you want to win the Big Ten, you want to win national championships, you got to go through Ohio State. And Ohio State used to absolutely attack our linebackers because we weren't athletic enough at that position. But now you got to beat Oregon. And now you got to beat USC. Like these teams that have a lot of speed and space, if you want to match up with some of those programs, you got to have linebackers that can fly in space. And Markel Dabney, the sideline to sideline speed, the ability to operate in coverage, not only in zone, you'll see him play some man. Like he can work with some tight ends. He can run with some tight ends down the field. That to me is what's most intriguing about Markel Dabney. And Dill, let's talk about this. Like what's next? I think you want to focus on this linebacker position first. I think it has to be Nick Abrams. And Dill, it's a unique situation where I think Michigan has the ability to really turn it up for him. Because you look at the four schools in it for him. It's Michigan, it's Bama, it's Georgia, it's Oregon. And Georgia and Oregon are pushing their chips in for Tyler Atkinson. Alabama's pushing their chips in for Xavier Griffin. This is an opportunity for Michigan to say, hey, Nick Abrams, you're our freaking guy. You're the top linebacker on our board. And I think that's going to mean something for a kid that I think is an absolute stud at the high school ranks.
And that has been how they've recruited him. I don't get the sense Michigan's really tried to go after anyone besides him at that linebacker spot. And then obviously some guys down the line like a Dabney or a Kenneth Goodwin or some of those other players. Nick Abrams has always felt like the priority for Michigan. And that has been one difference, I think, for Michigan is like when they want their guys, they've been a little bit more proficient in landing them. For like Malakai Lee, Georgia and Texas certainly wanted him. But Michigan made it a priority. They go out, win that battle. Obviously, a bunch of them from last year were like, Auburn wanted Nate Marshall. Texas wanted Nate Marshall. Michigan, that was a priority.
Did LSU want Bryce Underwood?
No, I don't think so.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm with you. Michigan, it's a really good point. Like 5 years ago, and again, it sounds like I'm like knocking Jim Harbaugh, and I certainly am not. There were times where it just felt like, the Malakai Lee recruitment is perfect.
Like they'd put the hat on the table, but you kind of knew it was going to be Georgia or Bama or Texas or
wherever. Georgia, those programs felt a little bit different. It felt like they were carrying a little bit of a bigger stick on the trail. You don't get that vibe. And for Nick Abrams, dude, I love this kid. He is 6'2", he's 220. He's got 34-inch arms. His ability to fly around the football field, Dill, you add a little bit more weight to this kid, which I think you can because it's a lean frame. It's like I'll say like Jayshon Barham vibes, like a guy that can come off the edge, a guy that can fly and kind of blitz the A and B gap. I am a monster fan of Nick Abrams. The linebacker board might be a little bit thin. Would love to see Michigan make this one a priority and say, hey, this is the guy that we're going to go out and get. Dill, you look at Michigan's board where we sit right now. What's the other – it's this is like a new conversation for us Michigan fans to have. It's like, hey, we're going to take what's ours. Like if you're Sherrone Moore and saying, hey, what's the next guy we're going to go stuff some people in a locker room for? Like what's that position? What's that player for you outside of Savion Heidi?
I was going to say, like, he's so obviously the one, and that's going to be a huge one. But I'm probably looking at cornerback next because I kind of wonder when that's going to start to form a little bit. Because Brody Jennings, I know he's in the class. Like I don't think anyone
he ain't going to be in
the right sense that he is going to be part of it. Nor would that like kill me. It's like it's not like it's not a player that, again, if that's going to be the recruitment where he's just going to
Dude,
be
I'm almost like I'm
cool.
almost to the point where it's like, why don't we just? Yeah, I don't know if you ask a kid to
It's a do you
decommit, but it's
pivot? But like again, Dorian Barney, they've turned the heat up on him, and that sounds
yeah,
like that's moving in the right direction. So that's probably the position I think you'd like to get a little more clarity. And then you said this earlier, like Havon Finney is still that one that he's out there. I know
yeah,
Michigan's kept in contact with
yeah.
him. Is that'd be a fun late swoop to do it again to LSU?
That seemed like, you saw Michigan move in silence for a couple of guys. Obviously Bryce Underwood was like the marquee one, but you also did it with Ty Haywood. I feel like Havon Finney, it's very clear that Michigan likes this kid. And although Michigan did not get an official visit, I feel as if Michigan will make a late charge for Havon Finney. I'm gonna go John Turntine. And I like Kelvin Abbott too, but if you're asking me who I'm choosing, I'm going with John Turntine. It kind of solidifies this offensive line class. I don't think Michigan's going to take 5 because you have just a really young offensive line pipeline that I don't even know if you can fit 5. The reason John Turntine's the guy for me is I love that tackle guard versatility, and I know he doesn't have the dreamy face, like the frame that Malakai Lee has is what like a Sherrone Moore dreams of. And I know John Turntine as a tackle does not have that ideal frame. This dude is such a good athlete. It's kind of like Will Campbell coming out, where it's like, all right, he's going to play, makes it look good at guard or a tackle in high school, probably going to play guard in college, probably going to play guard in the NFL. Everybody's been saying, hey, Will Campbell's eventually going to move to guard. And Will Campbell's just such a good athlete, don't freaking matter. I get that vibe from John Turntine, where it's like, I think he can give you tackle play, and if he doesn't, well, you just play him at guard. I think he'd be a massive get in. I'll say this: Travis Johnson, Calvin Russell. They're both making their commitments in the next 7 days. You land both of those cats. That's the best wide receiver class Michigan signed since what? DPJ, Tariq Black, and Nico Collins. And I would argue that that was I don't think Michigan
Maybe
wish they
not
got
Oliver
more.
Martin.
Was he in that class too?
I'm pretty sure. I remember it was 4 stars, and we are like, "Whoa, we've never done that."
Yeah.
You're right. That class, I don't know. I don't think it performed particularly great. And again, those weren't like the greatest Michigan teams, obviously. But like,
Yes.
yeah, this would be one of those wide receiver classes, especially when you do have a Bryce Underwood
Yeah.
spinning the
Agreed.
ball at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like that would really, I think, start to excite me.
Dude, and this is like why is it so fun for us Michigan fans? Like it feels like it's a reality. Savion, Travis Johnson, Calvin Russell, all playing with Bryce Underwood for the next couple of years. Like that's real. That's not Michigan fans dreaming. And we'll see if it can kind of turn out that way over the next couple of weeks. Gonna be fun. Buckle in. I would throw in Carter Meadows too. It feels like that one could be trending to Michigan as well. We going to take what's ours on the recruiting trail. All right. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Michigan fans, y'all let it rip in the comment section. Like, who's next? Who do you want to be next? We get to pick our guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.